What's up, y'all? My name is Dre. I'm part of Brothers United in Leadership Development, Build 206 Media. I'm here with Brother Gerald Bradford. We're going to have a conversation about some of the amazing things he's done and is doing in community and ways that y'all can tap in. How you doing, Brother Gerald?
Doing fine, Dre. Thanks for having me today. It was nice video. So I got to see a bunch of brothers that I knew on that video, man. Had me smiling.
Yeah, I'm trying to get our little media stuff together. So we're trying to make it happen, man. Learning new stuff during the age of COVID. So, we got to change the way we do things, and, it gets us opportunities to be able to reach community in different ways. So we appreciate you being here, taking your time to share, the resources that you have. This show is called Build the Collective Network. It's an opportunity for folks in the community to share things that they're working on and ways for people to tap in on that, as well as a safe place for us to share stories. So I'm just going to jump into the questions. I got about 10 questions for you. This is a informal conversation, man. We can just wing it, go where it goes and see how things happen. So so the first question I have is this, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself a little bit, who you are. I'd let you take it from there.
Okay. Well, my name is Gerald Bradford. I'm from Seattle. Garfield High School, Central District, 25th and Union. Spent a number of years on the block, and ultimately I was told that what I was doing, I was wasting my talents, and was told to go back to school by a number of people. But obviously, being young, you don't listen. So I kept playing in the street for the most part, but had an opportunity to go to the Million Man March in 92, 93. And that was a turning point in my life where I was able to be around Black men who actually have real love for each other. And the message that came from that march to me was go back and rebuild your community. How are you being an effective change in the community? So I started looking at things a little differently, started going back to school, went back to University of Washington, finished up. And from there, started working down at the juvenile. And I did political science. I was going to be a lawyer, but I never got out the juvenile. Fell in love with working with those kids and those families. And I've been working for the most part on and off professionally for, I'm thinking about it, probably about 30 years, because I really started doing my community work coaching football, CAY. This is even before going back to college. I mean, me and my buddies, and I'll give a shout out to Joe Carlisle, Terry O'Neill, Lamont Rice, Central District, the old school CAY that turned to CD Panthers. So, but for the most part, I've, been coaching football and working in the community as an advocate for a number of years. Most recently, I'm working with Renton Technical College as the reentry manager, and I work with system impacted individuals who are coming out of prison. And that's really my passion, is to really watch people find out who they are, just make that self-discovery of what their gifts are, and being able just to give that individual the tools to be able to pursue their dreams. I'm dealing with adults. All adults just need a push. When we're working with our young people, we talk to them multiple times. So just for the most part, just trying to open up doors through education. To me, education is freedom, and the challenge is trying to change the narrative in the community to make education cool and acceptable, and something that is just that's white,
Right.
So really just trying to work with our young people just to celebrate their genius. Most recently, I have founded with a number of people in the community, Latanya Horace, Paul Patu, Cheryl Jackson Williams, the CL Peace and Safety Initiative. And that was, for me, when I came with the idea of young people have been just killing themselves, as you know, Dre, for every time the sun comes out. The spring's, we're in winter right now. Spring's getting ready to come out. And unfortunately, the bodies are going to start dropping. And it's critical time for us as the community to put down our different airs and mistrust that we have amongst each other in order to come together, in order to be able to try to deal with the issues at our hand, which is our young people needlessly wasting their lives. And so I'm really working on that piece with the community, trying to establish community covenants and working agreements so that we have a basic understanding of how we can move together. And most important, I'm currently on the board for the Central District Preservation Authority, which is, we have just taken acquisition of the old SVI building on 22nd and Jackson. And right now we're in the process of doing the renovations that are needed in order for the building to be functional, in order for us to be able to provide physical spaces to the Black community. And what our intentions are, for the most part, is to use the data that's been collected with regards to the King County Equity Now surveys in order to guide what type of programming that we bring back to the community. So I have been blessed to be able to start from someone, just a community guy, to be able to be in positions to where I'm able to open up doors for other people so that they can realize their potential.
That's what's up. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of amazing and been tapped into a lot of amazing things. And that's kind of segues this. Actually, it is our second question. So you shared a lot of what you have done. Is there anything else that you have done or are doing in the community besides what you talked about? We talked about being a coach and, you know, doing those types of things. So I just want to make sure that we capture. I know you've done a lot of things, Black on Black Crime Prevention Coalition, all those types of things back in the day that's been in the mix. So I just really want to make sure that people got a full breadth of the amazing work that Mr. Gerald Bradford is doing and has been doing in the community.
Well, I guess I failed to mention that I am a family man. So I have a wife and 2 daughters. My oldest daughter's graduated from college already from Chapman, and my youngest daughter is at the University of Virginia. I'm very proud of my girls. And, you know, really, when I look at all my money, I look at them. So it's like, where's your money? It's over there with the kids. But, you know, seriously, I guess my whole goal is, me personally, is to want my children to be better than me. And so really investing in education, making that a priority at our household, and just teaching my daughters, and with my wife's help, to really have an understanding of who they are as people. So, I mean, I guess I did not touch on the family aspect, Drea, of me as a person.
That's what's up, and that's very important, because that even transpires into your work in the community about how do we have legacy and make, you know, our kids as the community's life better than ours. So I think that's dope. So next question I want to ask you is, who or what inspires you and why?
That's a good question. I'm going to just put it to, you know, I had an opportunity when I was young, kind of in the street, to meet brothers like Aaron Dixon, right? And for those that don't know, he's one of the original members of the Seattle Black Panther Party. And I just remember being over at his house when I was young, hustling, and just his door was open to me. He was always talking, and he was moving about community. Most recently, I've been in space with him in Seattle Peace and Safety Initiative, and I mentioned to him that there was a time that I came over his house and he opened up his doors to somebody that was not Black, you know, and they were living with him. And to me, that said a lot about him as a human being, to where he was just loving everyone. And I think that really changed my mindset with regards to what a community really is about. And I would, if I had to, you know, I would say him as one person that was influential. Larry Evans is another. I saw Larry on one of the pictures through Build, and Larry gave my first job when I came out of the street. He gave my first real professional job, and I thank him for that, because I have never left working in this particular arena. So I have to just go ahead and touch my mother. Maybe I should have mentioned her and my grandmother. My grandmother worked a job to, I just remember once when I was really old enough, really seeing how much my grandmother made an hour, $3.27 an hour. And this is a woman who didn't graduate high school, who went to work every day. And my mother, who had her own, beautiful woman, but just, they're not, the women back then aren't the women today to where you're able just to pick up and just have, I'm just going to be a single mom. That wasn't how it was back then. I look at my mother now and she's just a shining light with regards to just the beauty of a human being. So, and there are some other sisters, I will say professionally, that it was Black women that opened up professional doors for me. It was not necessarily, it wasn't a lot of Black men who were opening up those doors. Maybe we were looked at as a young threat, but I know that now in my positionality, we're trying to change that dynamic by bringing that young life with us, teaching them while we are in positions of influence, so that we're able to hand the baton off to somebody prior to me being in a hearse on the way to the cemetery. We want to activate the young life now. So I guess that's it, Dre, on that.
Well, thanks for sharing. You definitely named off some, heavy hitters, like Larry Evans and, folks like that. I mean, I think, like the fruit don't fall far from the tree. I'll say that, so next question I want to ask you is, and you can answer it however you want, or whatever context you want to answer it is, like, what do you think about everything that's going on now? Just in general. So like I said, I don't want to direct you to where you're going to go, but I'll let you answer how you see fit.
I would say this: life runs in cycles. And because our community and our country is undereducated and underemployed and do not know their history, we're falling back into cycles because of people, their inability to have the knowledge to know what's happened to them before. So, for instance, I'm looking at right now that the Voting Rights Acts are, the Voting Right Act was in jeopardy and peril, right? I just don't think people really understand the value of what it took to be able to go and cast that vote. This February was Black History Month. And on my Facebook, Dre, you might have seen it, I put on a Black History Challenge. So every day of Black History Month, I was watching a historical Black film. And when you really sit back and look at our particular history, there were so many things that were denied the ability to be able to read, denied which falls in line with education. And then once slaves were emancipated, unions were set up in order to be able to keep Black people from being able to work. And then from there, penal systems were started in order to be able to conscript people for slave labor. And so if you don't know your history, and I say this because these patterns are still here today. So I guess that's where I'm at. It's just where, and I said it earlier, education is freedom. So I'm trying to come into spaces and trying to bring that light into the brothers and sisters, so that challenging themselves to who they are, so that they will look past social media, pick up a book and actually do some research on what's real, so that they are informed in how they move.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't know that the unions were started for that reason. Like you said, it was all that labor that was coming out of slavery, right? And they were scared of, the competition. So they say, hey, you have to be in the union. A lot of folks don't know that. So I think that's real game right there. Unions are a wonderful thing. They bargain, good benefits and so on and so forth. But a lot of people don't really know the history. Same thing with police. A lot of people don't really necessarily know the foundation, and that stuff's still rooted in unions and police and these institutions to date, right? Like you said, it's nothing new, right?
Well, I mean, when you really talk about the real question or the real topic is really talking about white supremacy and white system, and white privilege, right? Which is a conversation that us as Black people have been very aware of. We've known that we've been dying at the hands of the police for as you know, since the police were catching slaves, the
Right.
police were brought. That's where it originated from. So they have always been an adversary of Black people. And so when you look at just the devaluing of a Black and brown life, it's saddening. It makes my, I mean, this is why I do the work for the most part, to really try to get people to see the beauty in who they are in order to be able to elevate. And so, I mean, but part of that elevation is being able to try to get them to know who they are to be able to be enlightened.
Right. So this is a question. Well, Bill's doing some work around this year, and been doing work around this. Is really, trying to have spaces for us to heal. Right. I know there's a lot of work that the Black Brilliance Project and King County Equity Now and other folks are doing. Amazing work around, the defund and, reallocating resources. But we want to uplift, what do we need to heal from the criminal justice system, the education system, all these other systems that have been failing us, right? And so we really want to make sure that some of those resources get allocated to things that are upstream to where we can actually have safe places to have conversations, meditate, yoga, things that we don't necessarily may not think about, right? The acupuncture, nutritionist, and just going out and being in nature. What I mean? It's basic stuff that you think is just basic, but it's not basic, right? Because we're not tapped into it. So we want to really look at it and make recommendations, tap into the community and find out what do people need, not just people who are coming out of jail and been in jail, but also folks, as you work with the families, right? There's kids that are impacted, there's grandfathers that are impacted. It's the community at large. Women are impacted, men are impacted. So it's not just the person who's going to jail that's impacted. So I want to give you an opportunity to share, one, how do you take care of yourself, with everything that you've been through and everything that you're going through, like what are steps that you take to take care of yourself during this time and just in general?
Wow, man. And you know what? And we were just talking about this, and I'm not doing a very good job at that piece, which is, the self-help piece. And I talked to Brother Dixon and some other folks that I trust, and they're telling me, get in the gym, just move around and work. And it's this COVID, Dre, is just, I'm telling you, I mean, days just, you lose track of the days, the times, the seasons are changing, and it's bizarre. So where I'm at right now is I'm looking forward to getting on my boat. I just bought a boat, so I want to get the fishing out here soon. But what I'm getting ready to start doing is getting back in the gym and just spending that time working out, so that at least I have an outlet for some of the frustration that goes on with the work that we do. And when you're doing community work, can't change everybody. It's just hope that we can get them into the position where we can agree to disagree, to be able to keep in mind of what our priorities are, so that we can continue to work to those goals. So so where I'm at right now is I have been doing some reading, though. I have been doing some reading. I will say that. I've been reading some books recently, which have helped.
So I think it's an ongoing conversation. The reason why I asked that, because we need to highlight and prioritize that we need to take care of ourselves, because my home JP John Page says the action could be a distraction, and I, when we're on the, we're also having a lot of secondary trauma, serving these folks and trying to help folks, right? So, continue to push yourself, and that's going to be an ongoing question I'm asking folks, because I know we're not doing it, the same thing, like I got to drink the juice. So I, try to get some regimens going on with working out. I've been, making sure I'm setting my doctor's appointments and doing those types of things. So, but not only that, like I said, trying to do some work through Bill to try to probe these types of conversations, so that way we can make some recommendations about what spaces we need. And it sounds like, if we get the SVI building and those types of locations, those are opportunities that we can have those types of safe spaces to have conversations, have, massage and yoga, and look for resources and push the funders to say, hey, we need funding for these things. Instead of trying to fix broken people all the time, we need some funding to fix these broken systems and to give us the resources that we need to really heal from the trauma that we've been through.
I'll bring back a point, though, as you're talking, and I'm thinking, what's really been therapeutic is being in the Zoom room with the Seattle Peace and Safety folks twice a month, listening to what's going on in the community. Really, there are some young people, some young life is in our space, and there's some brilliant young people, giving them voice, putting them in leadership positions in order to actually have projects, and those projects moving and growing. Listening to, being in the space with those elders, being able to soak that knowledge up, because we are in Zoom, people can come at one time, and just being in community, really trying to build relationships. That has been honestly very therapeutic. Dre, you've been in some spaces with me recently, and when you showed up to the space, I was just smiling. My guy is here, you know. I mean, he's heard the call. We, you know, at the end of the day, the community. We're trying to call the community in order to deal with an issue that needs all the community involved. And in order for us to truly be effective in how we're doing this, we have to have the ability to be able to come together and have hard conversations and be able to hold each other accountable. And I mean the people who are actually in charge, you know. So if you are the CEO or running something out here and you're harming people, please stop it. Right. Because as the community, you're hurting the community. We're going to have one opportunity to be able to take advantage of the participatory budgeting that's coming down. And it would be a shame to waste that opportunity on a few opportunists who think that they can go ahead and enrich themselves on the backs of the community. If those people are listening to me right now, I would suggest not to do it, because if you do it, we're going to run you out of town.
Yeah, and part of that is, you touched on relationships, and you know, we need time to build relationships, so we got equity in those relationships, so we can have those difficult conversations, because funky stuff's going to happen in every relationship, every dynamic, right? But if you have no equity in there, you go bankrupt when you start having those types of conversations. But if you have equity, the relationship, and it's going to get people to show up, you know what I mean? So that's what I'll add to what you just said. And I agree. I think we do got to be able to hold people accountable. But part of being able to hold people accountable is being in a relationship. And people aren't interested in having a relationship, then they really shouldn't be doing work in the community, because, you know, we're tribal, we're relational folks. So if you don't really have the time, if you just want to be transactional, and, you know, sometimes we have to do transactions, right? But for the most part, we should be relational. And once we got the relation, that's the foundation. Then we can get into it. Makes having some transactions amongst us makes it a little easier. So I want to transition now to ask you some questions about, you know, like, well, the next question I'll just ask you, like, what advice would you have? Sometimes people struggle, like, to think, like, you know, how do I get involved? Like, what advice would you have for someone looking to get involved in community work?
Wow. You know, I would say, hey, come to our space. If you want to come to the Seattle Peace and Safety space, I'll give you the link that you can bring up to the folks. At the end of the day, there's a number of small nonprofits that are looking for people to volunteer. It just really comes back to what is your gift, and being able to use that gift. So recently, I have been moving a lot of these young brothers we're building out our team is building out safety hubs throughout King County. And so what I've been doing is, those folks who have identified that they wanted to get into work, I'm talking and sending them to Marvin Marshall at the YWCA, or Marty Lawson out of Community Passages, or Marty Jackson over at the Southeast Network, so that they can go ahead, build relationships with those folks in order to start getting into the work. You know, but I think what the real challenge is, it's not just starting to get into work, Dre. It's once you start getting into work, how do you continue to elevate yourself? Because getting into work is not the first step. That's just getting in. Right. It's now you have to continue to build your toolbox by going to school, learning how to write. There are other aspects, whether you're going to do drug and alcohol, or you groups, whatever, but really trying to find your particular niche, and really trying to, you know, I'm trying to encourage some of these young folks to not just be the outreach worker or the outreach specialist the rest of their life. You know, why don't you think about becoming the director and really planting those particular seeds? So I'm encouraging folks who wanted to get into work to get in, volunteer, but to go to school so that they're not tracked at the entry level all the time.
Yeah, that's solid advice. And I guess the piece I would add is sometimes people don't know what their gift is. That's part of, they suppress us so much that, that you just think like, you've worked in the juvenile, you've done young men's groups, young women's groups. And, that's why we got so many people that want to, no knock on this, but we got so many people that want to go as professional athletes or a rapper or whatever. Like those are the avenues that they tell us we should be doing, which is ultimately entertainment for folks. Right. And so sometimes people don't really know what their gifts are. So,
But you said something earlier. You said something earlier. It comes back to relationship, right? So if all I see is the athlete, or if all I see is the minstrel show and the entertainment, if I'm not seeing the brother who's like yourself, who's putting on the video, and if I'm not seeing that brother in the community who's doing these actions, if I don't see the lawyer, if I don't see Mr. Bradford, then all I know is what I see, and what society is giving to our people are those images that you just laid out. And so that's why it's so important to me anyways. I think Black and brown teachers are the key, because you're third grade, they're picking winners and losers. And if you have diversity teaching in the classroom, then there's a better chance, in my view, that some of the these kids, I just did a group over at Echo Glen, and I just did a presentation about education going to RGC. But one of the questions I asked all those young men is how many of them had issues and problems going to school. And Dre, every single one of them shot their hand up. Every single one of them. They were failed by the school. So when you look at how systems work for the most vulnerable, or those folks who do not have the parents to go in and navigate that system, those are the casualties that are left up to the street, and ultimately, those are the kids that are dying and the ones that are going to prison. Right. Hope I answered your question, man.
No, you did. And I think also you said there's a lot of organizations that are doing great work, and plug into them. You know what I'm saying? And maybe have them mentor you or whatever. So I think you did answer my question, and you talked about like how these systems are failing all of us. You know what I mean? So we got to figure out how to navigate them. So
I'll just say this. This is why it's so important that the community be involved, right? Because at the end of the day, your story, and hopefully you want to be able to make sure that someone doesn't fall in the same trap you fell in. It really comes back to each one, teach one, Dre. We have to come out of our own silos in order to be able to go help Johnny over here at the store. You see him every time you walk into the store, and you just walk right by him. But that same guy that you're tightening your purse to, when I walk to the store, he's, Mr. Bradford, can I talk to you? I need a job. I need to get into school. Or things are going on, But I just say, just make yourself, if you have the ability to be able to do so, help people. Kindness doesn't cost anything.
Right. And I think if everybody says they'll mentor, even somebody in your family, if everybody says they'll put their arms around one young person, every adult, takes somebody and mentors them, then the world will be a whole better place. Like that's community organizing 101. Right. So I guess the last question I want to provide you space to is this, you already talked about you're willing to collaborate. So I want to make sure you give an opportunity to share how people can get in touch with you, what different ways people can get in touch with you. And we'll make sure we definitely share that information out, when we market and get the word out for this interview.
Well, I have a number of different emails. So if people are trying to contact me with regards to trying to talk about education, career planning, transitional planning, I can leave my email with you, or I can say it right now. What would you prefer?
You could say it, and then we'll also, you could provide it, you know what I'm saying? And then we'll add it into the information so people can have it one way or the other.
Okay. So my professional email is gbradford, the @ rtc.edu. Then my email for the CPDPDA, which is the board that I serve on, is gbradford@cdcpda.org. So if folks want to get in touch with me, they can do so either by either of those two emails. I'm pretty good at responding to the emails that are sent to me. So, you want to get in touch with me, get activated, try to find out more about how to get involved in Seattle Peace and Safety Initiative, or come to space to hear about what's going on with the Seattle Vocational or the new McKinney Center building, I would encourage you to contact me so I can forward you the information.
So I appreciate your time, Brother Gerald, and sharing what you're doing, the amazing work that you've been doing and are doing in the community. And, you know, you're definitely part of the collective network. We wanted to make sure that we got this information out to community. So once again, I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come build with us.
Much respect, man. Peace.
All right, peace. So yeah, this is Build 206 Media. This show is called The Collective Network. We're trying to provide space for amazing Black people in the community that are doing amazing things, you know, to share with y'all. So, you know, if you guys want to tap in what we're doing, you know, check out our website. We'll definitely make sure we get Brother Gerald's information out to y'all so you guys can tap into the amazing work that he's doing in the community. Once again, my name is Dre. I'm part of Brothers United Leadership Development, Build 206 Media. All right, peace.